And welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, we're talking about medical malpractice. So in studio with us now is Gloria Becker. Gloria, an attorney, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And Ben here as well. And Gloria, you have an interesting perspective, I think, as well. Stacy was mentioning in the first segment, your father was a doctor as well, an OBGYN.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Stacy, so I grew up admiring physicians, and I truly believe that most doctors are good, and they work tirelessly to improve the health of their patients. I've been practicing law for over 20 years. Primarily, most of my career has been spent defending physicians and representing hospitals.
You were on the other side of the table.
On the other side of the fence, right.
Okay.
And so it's a very unique perspective that most litigators don't have.
Right.
So over the course of my career, while I was defending hospitals and representing these physicians, I started to realize that I was seeing a lot of cases that had some serious patient safety concerns.
Okay.
And specifically, when you dig into those concerns, what I realized was happening was that it was a systemic problem within our healthcare system that was failing the patient.
The overarching system.
The overarching system,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that is what these adverse events that Ben was telling you about earlier, why we're seeing an uptick in these adverse events was occurring. Because really what you have is you have corporate America coming in and taking over these hospitals. And like was said earlier, when you put profits ahead of patients, ahead of people, negligence-based injuries are bound to occur. And that's exactly what we're seeing in hospitals today.
What are the types of things that you've seen over the years with your experience on both sides of the table? Give me an example. Can you tell our viewers a story about a typical case that you might see? Sure.
Well, and these cases can happen at any point in time of the hospital stay. You know, I've seen cases that occur in the emergency department when a patient just comes in for emergency care and they're wrongfully discharged. Or it can happen in the ICU or in the operating room. So it's at any point in time during the hospital stay that you can see these adverse events occur. But for example, one common thing that we see happening are medication errors.
Medication errors.
Exactly.
Okay.
And medication errors, 9 times out of 10, are 100% preventable. And when we say medication errors, what we're referring to is the patient gets the wrong medication.
I see. Okay.
That's ordered. Or the patient gets the wrong dose. Or the doctor places the orders for the medication, and the nursing staff never gives the medication to the patient.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Right?
Right.
So those are the type of errors that it's because of, you know, short staffing,
Okay.
you know, not following policies and procedures that are in place. It's a systemic problem within our healthcare system that are causing these problems and these adverse events to occur.
So one thing Stacy said in the first segment was, and Ben echoed this sentiment, always have an advocate, right?
Absolutely.
Have an advocate with you if you can at all times. It's good to have another set of eyes and ears, right?
Absolutely. And bringing an own advocate, a family or loved one, a friend to the hospital is so important. But if you don't have one, use your voice, exercise your voice, speak up for yourself, ask questions. If you don't think something is right, 9 times out of 10, it's probably not. If you don't feel right, if you feel like something's off, speak up. Don't be afraid. This is your life. It's your right to be involved and to be a participant in your health care. And lots of times, I think our health care providers lose sight of that.
You know, I would think that, I don't want to speak for others, but I would think most people sort of feel like you go into a qualified hospital and everything's copacetic and everything is going to turn out right. You're not expecting a wrong medication or something like that to happen. But Ben mentioned the statistics. 1 out of 4 people are having an adverse, that's a lot of people.
It's unacceptable. It really is. It's unacceptable. And what we're trying to do is figure out exactly why these problems are occurring. And we think we know the answers, but the next step is to prevent this from happening to one of your loved ones, and to all the people in the state of North Carolina. And we're going to get there, but it's going to take a lot of work to do. You know, you were asking for examples, and another thing that we're seeing.
Do you have a specific example you could share?
Yeah, so another thing that we're seeing of hospitals cutting corners is they're starting to outsource a lot of a lot of their healthcare work, specifically like radiologists. They might even send it overseas and have someone review the radiology. You come into the emergency department. I had a case where a patient came in and was complaining of chest pain. And so the obvious workup was for a pulmonary embolism. Well, they sent him to the CT scan, sent the CT scan, unbeknownst to the patient, overseas, had it read by a provider completely across the world, and came back completely negative. They discharged the patient. He goes home. The next day, a local radiologist comes in to do an overread, and he looks at the imaging and says, "Oh my gosh, no, look, there's a huge pulmonary embolism right here."
Wow.
So the hospital calls the patient, says, "You need to get back in here. You, in fact, do have a pulmonary embolism," but it was too late, and the patient, unfortunately, passed away.
It killed him.
Yes. So those are the type of cutting corners that are just unacceptable, and the person who is paying the price is the patient.
Oh my gosh, Ben, I cannot even imagine going into a hospital, getting a CT scan, and having somebody in the Czech Republic reading that.
Right.
I mean, that's outrageous.
And most people don't sign up for that or know that that's going to happen.
Absolutely.
You know? One thing to keep in mind, Drew, in medical negligence cases, you know, just because if somebody has a bad result or it doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean there's been medical negligence. You know,
Correct.
And I think a lot of times that is a problem if folks feel like if something didn't go right, then should they get a lawyer? They shouldn't know. They don't know whether to get a lawyer or not. And I'm telling you, what we've done with our all-star team is the telephone is a free call. We are offering free evaluations of your medical negligence case. We are going to have trained professionals on the phone that can talk to you about it and answer your questions, and it's confidential. You know, and some folks may feel more comfortable speaking with a female attorney.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure that we can offer as much resources and free information, even if you don't need us. You know, so you may be watching the show and think this is something that's happened to me, or what should I do? Well, you can call. It is a free call. Gloria and Stacy, and we've all worked with the folks that are answering the phone, so that they can help guide you through the next steps of what could happen.
Gloria, that case that you talked about is tragic, about this CT scan being sent overseas, and to me that's unfathomable that something like that would happen here in America that goes on. What you're saying is that the system is broken. That's why something like that would happen. That's
correct. You know, over the course of my 20 years defending doctors and hospitals, you know, I really started to see, especially in the last decade, over the last 10 years, a shift of adverse events that perhaps unpreventable, right? That means you come in and it's just unpreventable, right? And things happen even with the best of care. You can have bad outcomes, and those do exist. But the shift that I started to see was a lot, and a majority of these adverse events were occurring, and they were entirely preventable. Mm-hmm. Now, what coincided with that was corporate America taking over the hospitals.
Okay.
And what you heard Stacy talking about, so that now the hospitals are being run by non-medical providers, right? And so the physicians are being told how to practice medicine in a way that maybe is not best for the patients, right? We see lots of healthcare providers, nurses, physicians' assistants, physicians who are leaving the practice of medicine because
Horrible. Yeah.
it's become too corporatized. And we're not here to try to, villainize the healthcare system. We all want it to work, because whether you want to be there or not, there's going to be a point in time where all of us rely upon the healthcare system.
Absolutely.
So what we want to do is we are trying to make it so that it works. We're trying to make this broken system work again, so that we can feel safe when you walk into a hospital, whether it is in rural North Carolina or in our triangle, that you receive the care that you deserve to receive.
And if you have questions, it's a free phone call, and you'll get an attorney to return your call, and you can talk with that attorney after making that free phone call. And we urge you to do that, because this is an important, really important topic. Stacy Miller is going to be back with us for our final segment. You're watching Attorneys on Call.